Hey guys, Greg at Premier Fitness Systems. I've got a great lower body mobility flow for you guys today. It should take about 10 minutes, so let's get started with this. First thing I want you guys to do is, if you can, get shoes off. Biggest reason why, just like a tree, we want to start to use our feet to root our body, create more tension in the ground, and connect ourselves. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with some high butt crawls for a minute on here. So all I want you to do is we're going to keep your feet about 2-3 inches apart. I want you to start to spread your fingers as wide as you can. Think about your hands like the roots of a tree, almost like you're creating suction cups in the floor. So we're just going to keep moving here for a minute on here. So I want you to think about your feet. Legs should be straight, just not locked out, and I'm driving my heels into the floor as I move here. As I get going and warmed up, I want to start to get my butt up higher and higher, really driving those heels. You should feel a really good stretch in the calves and the hamstrings on here. So we're going to go for a minute on here. If you guys got a hallway or in your house, doesn't really matter. Just keep it moving. Get that body going for a minute. Alright, so next one, we're going to go to some side lunges to the center. So what I want you guys doing on here is we're going to come to the right. So feet should be pointing straight. If your toes turn out a little, that's fine. This leg's nice and straight. What I want you to think about is my feet are dialing outward and so are my hands. So I want to push my hands and feet through the floor, kind of down my shoulders. I should get a really good stretch here, loading into the glute. I'm going to step back to the center. So pushing into that side, this leg's nice and straight, getting a good stretch in the groin, start to get the glutes. One of the most important things is we're dialing here. I want to push my hands through the floor, and I want to, almost like I got a quarter under my hands, I'm trying to push it through the floor and rip the skin on my hands. So I've got some good connection. So we talk about roots of a tree. I want to make sure I'm not just kind of putting my hands down. I want to really try to connect with that floor, getting a good stretch as I move here. And you guys can go at your own pace. Just make sure you're getting a good stretch, holding for about a 1 count at the end of each. All right, so next one we're going to do some stationary inchworms. So what I want you guys to do is we're going to start feet about 2-3 inches apart. I want to walk my legs up. I want to hold a good stretch. Step back. And then I'm walking back, driving into my palms. I want to make sure I don't come up on my fingertips. Stay in the palms. Good stretch. Once again, thinking about using those hands, I want to push into the floor. Dial those hands. Holding that stretch for a 1-2 count, trying to drive those heels all the way to the floor. Good stretch. All right, so next one we're going to go to a pigeon stretch. So I'm going to start push-up position. On this one, I want to start with my left knee to left wrist. One of the things most people think is that my ankle needs to be even with my knee. Not the case. As long as you're not feeling any pull in your knee, that's fine. I'm going to have you turn your back knee down. I want to squeeze my glute, kind of square my pelvis up. So on this one, I just want thinking about taking some deep breaths. I want to imagine someone's pulling my hands long. Someone's pulling my leg behind me. 2 things I'm focusing on this one is I'm squeezing my butt through my hip. And then I want to think like someone's trying to rotate my hip and kind of open it up. So my right hip's pushing down and my left knee is kind of rolling outward to really get a good stretch. All right, so we're going to switch it up. So I'm going to come right knee to right wrist. Once again, back knee comes down. I want to tuck my pelvis, squeeze my back glute so I square up. Even if you guys can't come all the way out with the hands, that's fine. You guys can start with the elbows, and then I want you just kind of working out holding that stretch for a good 30, 45 seconds on there. Once you guys start to get into this position, I want you to really start to think about walking the hands out, bringing the back leg back. Use your hands to create tension, pulling yourself into the floor. And then I'm also trying to, once again, get that hip to kind of rotate outwards, get more stretch in there. All right, so next one, we're gonna do a little plank hurdle stretch. So on this one, I'm gonna start, left leg comes out, drop the back knee, squeeze the glute. I wanna try to drive my elbow to the floor. So I'm stepping out, drop that back knee. The minute I hit the ground, I wanna try to push my right knee forward about an inch, get some good stretch on there. Stepping out, good stretch. For some of you that can easily go elbow to the ground, you guys can bring your hand outside your foot. I'm trying to bring my head to the floor rather than coming down with the elbow. Good. All right, so I'm gonna come over. You guys can grab a wall, whatever you have to hold on nice and steady. So we're gonna do some hip cars. So what I want you to think about is my post side of my body, everything is tensed up. I want to keep my chin tucked, rib cage down. I'm driving my left leg as straight as I can. I want to keep my pelvis square. The only thing moving is my right leg. So, big circle, opening up that hip. I should still feel my left glute. Really trying to create as much tension, working that right hip. So we're going to hit 5 on this right side. Nice and slow. Really fight that end range. My left leg should stay straight. I should feel my glute on my left side the whole time. And I should feel like I'm starting to almost Charlie horse if I'm really pushing. So we're going to hit other side. So my right leg, pushing it straight, rib cage down. Really try to open. Keep that right glute active that whole time on there. The harder I'm pushing my right foot through the floor and dialing my foot outward, the more tension I'm going to have, the easier it allows me to kind of lock up the rest of my body and force the stretch in my left hip, which I'm opening up. All right, so next one, you guys can do this one in place or we can move across the floor. We're going to do some windmill lunges. So I'm stepping out. I want to dial my hand. I want to create tension between my knee and my elbow because the tendency is my knee wants to flare out. So I'm going to open up. Don't let the knee come out. Keep that tension. And then we're stepping into that next side. So when I say dial my hand, I want to push through the floor and then I want to rotate my elbow back so it kind of sets that in place. Back knees down. My hand's trying to go all the way to the ceiling. So as I step on here, I don't want to follow my hand to the sky. I want to be looking across the room on there. My back knee should almost be touching. Locking up that side. Good, so we'll go 2 more. Big step out, my back knee's almost touching, dial, tension. Big step on there. Good. All right, so next one we're gonna do is we're gonna work those hamstrings. So I want you on your back. We'll bring the hands through the feet. So first thing I want is I'm gonna push my knees down. So I'm kind of pulling my feet forward, my knees down. I should get a good hip stretch. And then I wanna drive my head down. Really pull into those hamstrings. So head comes up, pull the knees down. Getting good stretch in those hips. Good, last one. Good. Really use those arms and that upper body strength to hold that stretch. Good. All right, so next one. We're going to do a straddle hinge. So what I want you to do is bring your feet out as wide as you can. I want you to think about pushing those feet outward, create as much tension. So my legs should be straight, just not locked out. I want rib cage down. My fingers are trying to touch the wall. I want to live on my toes on this stretch. So my chin stays tucked. I'm trying to reach as far forward as I can, still keeping my heels down, and then I want to come up nice and tall. When I come up tall, I want to squeeze my glutes, ribs stay down. Coming all the way up, squeezing the butt's going to stretch the hips, and then when I'm up on the toes as I come out, the more I'm on my toes, the better stretch I'm going to get on my calves here. We'll go 2 more. All right, so we're going to go to some kneeling hip cars. So this is what I want. Pushing my hands through the floor. I want to dial them out. I want to look just like a table. So same thing we did standing. I'm going to start with that right knee. I want to keep my pelvis square to the floor. Try not to move anything but that right side. Concentrate on keeping that pelvis square. Keep those abs drawn in, as big a circle as I can make. Nice and slow, embracing the end range of that stretch. Now we're going to switch to that left side. Once again, pushing that hands through the floor. So I want you coming, keeping that pelvis locked up, nice and slow. One of the hard things on this is you want to go fast because it's difficult, it hurts, you feel like you're going to cramp, but the slower you go, the more you're going to start to work on opening up those hips. Good. All right, so we've got 3 left. So I'm going to do some walking hip stretch. So for this one, we're going to go walking into a deep squat. So I'm going to start. I want to get the outside edge of my feet down. My arms are up. I want to keep chin tucked. Use my arms, push my knees out. That's pretty easy for you guys. You guys can keep the rib cage down, getting those arms out. The biggest thing I don't want to see is most people just drop into their hips. So I want your butts up about 2 inches higher than that so that your glutes are firing. I want to push through my feet, my knees are out, and my shoulders back on here. For those of you that can't get your feet down, you guys can start with just living right here. The more you start to practice this, the better you're going to get. Good. All right, so last 2 today. So we're going to start on that left side. Left side's down. I want this hand, middle finger's pointing away from my body. I want to down my shoulder, good posture. I want to imagine my knee and ankle are pushing down on a scale. I want to sit up nice and tall. When I'm tall, my back glute's activated, my back knee's at 90 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push, keeping the knee down, sitting up nice and tall. Notice my front knee never comes off the ground. For people that can't do this because they're too tight through their hips, you guys can put a towel underneath your knee as you do it. For people that get better, you can also take the hands off the ground. The hand allows you to create more tension until you have better control. So we're going to do 7 aside, and I want you guys to flip. And you're going to notice that probably from one side to the other side, there's probably a big discrepancy, especially if you're playing golf 3 or 4 times a week. So I'm kicking out. I want to try to get that toe flexed. Knee stays down. When I come back, I want to get up as tall as I can. Squeeze that back glute. So my back leg is rotating down and this knee is pushing into the floor. Once again, you guys can go hands down or not, depending. Good. All right, so last one today. So you guys can you can sit on the floor. One of the biggest things is until you've got enough flexibility, use something to block your kind of butt up a little bit higher, so work on that stretch. So what I want is we're gonna point the toes, rib cage down. I want arms out to the sides. So I want you to think about keep the ribs down, chin tucked. I want you to bring your arms out in front of you, keeping the ribs tucked. Imagine you've got a basketball in your hands and someone's gonna steal it. I want you reaching long so your back stays flat, coming back out. So my shoulders stay down, ribs down. I want you to bring my hands, keep that chin tucked. Get as much length as you can. As I bring my arms up, the harder I squeeze the basketball in my hands, the easier it is for me to create more tension and ensure that I'm going to keep my back nice and flat. So we'll go 3 more. The last one we're going to hold for a 10 count. So really squeeze that ball, rib cage down. Try to go long. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and good. All right, guys. Well, hopefully that helps. It's a great routine you guys can do every morning just to get things warmed up, or even a few days a week, or even on mornings just before you go out and play, but hopefully that helps.